As the title of the video suggests, we are going to discuss the playoff outlook for each conference in today's video. We're going to discuss the seeding of the playoffs, where each team will go in the wildcard round, and so on. We're going to be breaking down each game, how each game will go, and ultimately Super Bowl 55. It will start with breaking down the Week 17 games and who we think will get in and win those games. So before we get started, there is a lot to discuss in today's video, so make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. So this is how the current playoff picture looks heading into Week 17, and as I am recording this, the Bills are up 31-9 in the middle of the third quarter against the Patriots, so we are assuming they win this game, and they enter Week 17 as the 2 seed. So we start with discussing the Week 17 games, and this is brief because of all of the playoff matchups we have to dive into. As you'll see on the screen now, this is who I have winning the games, their team is highlighted, and how the seeds play out. The Browns over the Steelers due to believing they'll rest Ben with the first round bye no longer a thing for the top 2 seeds, and that they haven't had a bye week since Week 4. The Cardinals over the Rams with the announcement of John Wolford starting in place of Jared Goff. Washington over Philly for the NFC East, though if the Giants won the division it wouldn't surprise me, and Green Bay over Chicago because I don't think they'll let their guys rest for 3 weeks. So starting in wildcard weekend, we discussed the 2 and the 7 seed games in each conference. In the AFC, that means Buffalo hosts Indy, and in the NFC, the Saints host the Rams. So starting in Western New York, the 7-seeded Colts will go into Buffalo as underdogs. They're built to be a solid playoff team, and very well could be the Tennessee of last year, and what I mean by that is a team that makes a surprise run. They can run the ball, and in Buffalo in the first week of January, teams want a running team. Passing the ball 40 times is not ideal in those conditions, and Buffalo knows that. Having said that though, they will do everything they can to sell out against the run and force a 39-year-old Phillip Rivers to beat them in their house in January, which I don't see happening. Buffalo moves on to the Divisional Round and wins a playoff game for the first time since 1995. Next is the Rams-Saints game, and this is extremely tough to predict right now due to the uncertainty surrounding Jared Goff and his injury. Obviously, if he can't play in 2 weeks, then the Saints cruise to a win and a divisional round appearance. Regardless, even if he plays, we saw how poorly he played against Seattle on Sunday and how much he was affected by this injury. Now, as you guys probably know, I am not a doctor, but I can't imagine 2 weeks makes this world of difference and he comes back and is Patrick Mahomes 2.0. Because of that, I have the Saints moving on and going to the divisional round. Again, a quick look at how the seeds played out, so discussing the 3 and 6 wildcard rounds. This brings 2 divisional matchups, and in the AFC North, it's the Browns and Steelers. So this has been a great year for the Browns, and they have a great future with Baker, Nick Chubb, and everyone else, and of course head coach Kevin Stefanski, don't get me wrong. But to think they can go into Hines and win a playoff game for me right now is a little far-fetched. Love the future, but I think in a sense they have to go through a learning curve before winning playoff games on the road, and especially divisional ones at that. Also, we don't know how the receivers will be, and that gives me even less confidence in the Browns to win. Steelers escape wildcard weekend with a win. Now, Arizona and Seattle will be a great duel between Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. Some could look at it as the future and the present. But similarly to the Browns though, the Cardinals' future is insanely bright, but to expect them to go into Seattle and win, especially with how their defense has been playing as of late, Seattle's that is not a reality. Russ would step up to the occasion on top of it, and because of this, Seattle will move on, and it will prove to be a valuable learning experience for the quarterback head coach duo of Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. Next are the 4 and 5 seed games, and Baltimore and Tennessee would be a rematch from last year. Obviously, the Titans eliminated them to much of surprise of everyone, but how will they fare this year? If this is how the playoffs turn out, then I do think this will be by far the best game of the wildcard weekend. I predicted the Ravens to win the Super Bowl as my preseason pick, but things have drastically changed since then. And this is by far the toughest game of the week to predict, but with Derrick Henry seemingly owning the Ravens, I can't go against the Titans and their diesel of a running back. But I do want to say it wouldn't surprise me if the Ravens win this game because of the year of frustration and anger and just being furious for how they lost, but for now I have the Titans moving on. So the last wildcard game, and this is quick. The Bucs will go to Landover, Maryland, and take care of business against the football team. I hate to be so predictable with this game, but I don't see any way Tom loses to them. Now, it obviously wouldn't hurt his reputation, but again, I just don't see them going into Washington and coming out on the wrong end. I'd love to be wrong about this, but not surprisingly, I have the Bucs moving on to take Green Bay. Now heading to the divisional round of the playoffs, here's what we have. We have a rematch between the Titans and Chiefs, and you can see every other game on the screen. But we're going to start with the 2s and 3s, and we're going to start in Buffalo like we did with Wildcard Weekend. So Buffalo absolutely throttled New England, and they are 100% heating up at the right time. Pittsburgh has no run game, and then looked pretty dead against them a few weeks ago when they played. They averaged less than 3 yards per carry that Sunday night, and really they have struggled in every game since becoming 10-0, let alone 11-0. The Bills are a very dangerous team, and they will give everybody they play problems, as we've already seen they gave Pittsburgh more than they could handle, and it doesn't stop in the divisional round of the playoffs for them. Buffalo moves on. Next is the Seahawks and Saints, and I do think this would be the best game of the weekend. Russ and Drew going toe-to-toe for a chance to go to the NFC Championship would be very fun to watch, to say the least. The Seahawks defense would give the Saints offense everything they can handle and then some, and really vice versa too. Having no crowd greatly benefits the Seahawks here, as it's no secret for how loud the Superdome gets when the opposing offense is on the field. The Saints have certainly shown vulnerability to teams like the Eagles and Chiefs recently, while the Seahawks have won 3 in a row and 5 out of 6. This would be the first time Russ versus Drew would occur in the playoffs, and unfortunately for NFL fans, it would probably be the last. And I trust Seattle's defense with the way they've been playing over the past month to make more plays than I do for Drew Brees to be a hero at what would be then 42 years old, as he has a January birthday, to make play after play. With that being said, Seattle to the NFC Championship game. Next is the game between the Titans and Chiefs, and again flashing the playoff predictor on the screen now. This game is obviously a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game, but unfortunately for Titans fans, I don't think it's going to go or start out the way it did last year when they had a lead and everything. They were up on the Chiefs, but I don't think they'll even get that chance this year. We saw how much the Titans struggled against the Packers last week, and unfortunately I think it will be much of the same against Kansas City. They were no match for Green Bay, and the Packers put up 40 on them. The Chiefs, like the Packers, don't have a problem scoring and won't have a problem scoring with an extra week off and with another week to prepare for this team. Going into Arrowhead and winning for anybody is incredibly tough, and not surprisingly, I have the Chiefs moving on. The last game of the divisional round is the Bucs and Packers, which is interesting because the Bucs absolutely killed them earlier in the year. But I definitely don't think the Bucs will work them like that this time around, especially in Green Bay in January. The Packers roll into the playoffs winning 5, probably 6 in a row after Sunday, and if that is the case, then 8 out of 9. The Bucs have won 3 straight off the bye, and I realize you can't control who you play when you play, but against 3 non-playoff teams in the Vikings, Falcons, and coachless Lions. Both teams will roll into January having impressive win streaks, and one will have to give in this game. And with Aaron having an MVP season, and more than likely a 47-5 TD to INT ratio, along with the best receiver in football in Devontae Adams, I am going with Green Bay. The Packers have unfinished business against the Bucs. So now we have the conference championship rounds, which will consist of the Bills at the Chiefs and the Seahawks at the Packers. So looking at the AFC, and of course the immediate thought is, wow, the Chiefs are unbeatable, and the Bills, nor does anyone else stand a chance, and they are going back to back. But the Bills will give them a game, as they are peaking at the right time, and Josh Allen is a legitimate MVP candidate. Now, he won't win, but he does deserve recognition of the year he is having. He has 43 total touchdowns on the year with 34 passing, 8 rushing, and 1 receiving. Allen has been great, and of course so has the receiver they acquired from the Minnesota Vikings in Stephon Diggs. They won't have a problem putting up points, as since coming off of their bye week, they have put up 173 points in 5 games, which equates to over 34.5 per contest. But going to Kansas City and winning is an entirely different ballgame. I think this is a great step for the Bills this year, and they will 100% give Kansas City a game when they play, but I think the Chiefs will prevail with a very high score. This will be a very fun game for viewers to watch, as the total points scored should be in the 60s or 70s. But like we have said with the Patriots for the past 20 years, do not bet against the Chiefs at home in the playoffs. Now for the Seahawks and Packers. So this will be another good playoff game between Russell and Aaron, and they played a great one last year that went down to the wire, and I definitely expect it to be much of the same this year too. DK Metcalf, as you see on the screen, has grown up a lot in the past year, and Davante Adams has gotten better too. This will be a much better game than we saw last year between these teams in terms of quality of football, which is pretty crazy to say, but I expect it to come down to the last few minutes of the game. Russell Wilson is a great player and has been an MVP candidate at points in this year. Obviously he's had some low points, but he is at this point in time not as good as Aaron Rodgers. And like I wouldn't bet against the Chiefs, I wouldn't bet against the Packers at home in the playoffs either. Packers-Chiefs, Super Bowl 55. So now we have reached the Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl, but who will come out on top? Mahomes and Rodgers have consistently been the top two quarterbacks for this year, and it would be awesome if both number one seeds made it to the Super Bowl. If Kansas City goes, this would be the first time a team has won back-to-back appearances since the Seahawks did in Super Bowls 48 and 49. However, what's different about this Chiefs team and this Packers team is one big thing: the age in their quarterbacks. The Chiefs have Mahomes under a 10-year, $500 million contract, while Rodgers is 37, and his franchise just selected a quarterback in the first round of the draft. The big difference in this is the Chiefs know they have the next 10 years to get back, and that's fine. The Packers are in an attitude if we may never get back if we don't do it this year. That's not to say the Chiefs are going to say, "Here, Aaron, you're 37, Patrick's 25, go ahead and take this one from us, we don't care," because that is absolutely not it, and I'm definitely not saying that. But we've seen this before with teams, and I think a good example of this is Super Bowl 50 between the Broncos and Panthers. For 2 weeks, everyone wrote off the Broncos and their old quarterback, and then they dismantled the Panthers in San Francisco. Now, I don't expect the Packers to make Mahomes look bad because that's really hard to do, but I do expect them to somehow, some way come out on top. A fair question to ask is, and this is for any team, not just the Chiefs, but who is shutting down Davante Adams? And if you triple team him, that's fine, but then who's shutting down Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon? And Jamal Williams, I don't want to forget about him. The Packers are loaded on offense just like the Chiefs, but I do think with an older quarterback, they will come out with more fight and with more of a chip on their shoulder. And because of that, I do think the Packers edge the Chiefs in Super Bowl 55. This will be a great game, and I truly cannot wait to watch. Now, with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did and you're still watching and you took the time out of your day, I appreciate that. Please subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps, and I truly cannot thank you guys enough for the support. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.